Our story begins not in the distant past, but in ancient Athens, around the year 360 BCE, in the philosophical academy founded by one of history's most influential thinkers. It was here that Plato, the Greek philosopher, first told the world about a magnificent civilization that had vanished beneath the waves thousands of years before his time. Plato introduced the story of Atlantis in two of his dialogues, written works structured as conversations between his teacher Socrates and other philosophers. The first mention appears in a dialogue called Timaeus, and the story continues in greater detail in Critias, though this second dialogue was never completed, ending abruptly mid-sentence, adding to the mystery that would captivate minds for millennia to come. In these writings, Plato claimed the story of Atlantis came from his ancestor Solon, who had been one of Athens' greatest lawmakers and poets. According to Plato, Solon had traveled to Egypt around 590 BCE, visiting the ancient city of Sais in the Nile Delta. There, Egyptian priests, keepers of records stretching back thousands of years, shared with him the tale of a powerful civilization that existed long before either Greece or Egypt had risen to prominence. The priests told Solon that this story took place 9,000 years before his visit, which would place the existence of Atlantis around 9,600 BCE, at the end of the last ice age. They spoke of it as historical fact, preserved in their sacred records, a cautionary tale about hubris and divine judgment. According to the account, Atlantis was an island located beyond the Pillars of Hercules, the ancient name for the Strait of Gibraltar, in what we now call the Atlantic Ocean. The island was described as larger than Libya and Asia Minor combined, which in ancient geographical terms meant it was an enormous landmass, perhaps comparable in size to a small continent. The island of Atlantis was said to be the domain of Poseidon, the god of the sea. According to the legend, Poseidon fell in love with a mortal woman named Cleito, who lived on the island. Her parents had died, leaving her alone, and Poseidon, enchanted by her beauty, made the hill where she lived into a paradise. He carved the hill into alternating rings of land and water to protect her, 3 rings of water and 2 of land, creating a natural fortress that could only be reached by boat. From the union of Poseidon and Cleito came 5 sets of twin sons, 10 princes in total. The eldest of these was named Atlas, and it was from him that both the island and the surrounding ocean would take their names. Poseidon divided the island among his 10 sons, with Atlas receiving the central hill and the surrounding territory as the primary kingdom, while his brothers ruled over other portions of the realm. The civilization that grew from these divine origins became extraordinarily advanced and prosperous. The Atlanteans, as Plato described them, were master engineers and architects. They expanded upon Poseidon's original design, building bridges across the rings of water and tunneling through the rings of land to create a magnificent capital city. The outermost ring of water was connected to the sea by a channel that was 50 stadia long, which translates to roughly 5.5 miles, and wide enough for the largest ships to enter the protected harbors within. The main island of Atlantis was described as having abundant natural resources. According to Plato's account, the island possessed both precious metals and common materials in great quantities. Most remarkably, the Atlanteans mined a mysterious metal called orichalcum, which Plato described as second only to gold in value and which gleamed with a red light. This metal, whatever it may have been, was found in many places throughout the island and was used extensively in their buildings and decorations. The climate of Atlantis was said to be exceptionally favorable, allowing the inhabitants to harvest 2 crops per year. The land provided everything its people needed: timber from vast forests, herbs and flowers, cultivated fruits, and grains. There were mountains that provided shelter from the northern winds, and fertile plains that stretched across the island, nourished by rivers that flowed from the highlands.